Hey guys, it's your girl Kizzy Rock. I know it's been a few days. I'm sorry guys. I've been extremely busy. So guys, I wanted to talk to you all today about not giving up. Like, listen, you literally have to have a mindset and you have to be extremely strong, extremely determined to make it to your destiny. Like you literally just like, as I always say, it's like a street fight. You are going to have so much things that come up against you, and you have to be so fluid in your thinking. You literally have to be steps ahead of Satan. So let's just say, for example, you there's something that you're trying to do, and you have to do it on a certain day or whatever. Make sure you get to wherever you're going days in advance, a week in advance, whatever it is that you can do, as long as you get there in advance, because there's going to be distractions on the way. Satan knows he's trying to clip you up. So you have to be fluid in your thinking to say, you know what? Okay, I'm going to be ahead of him. So if he tried to throw this distraction in my way, then I'm going to be sure that I'm prepared for it. Okay. I'm going to be sure that I am on the lookout, and I'm fluid in my thinking to say, if this one thing doesn't come through, I already have plan B. I already have plan B ahead of time. So when he does throw wrenches in, then I'm prepared. I'm going to wipe that distraction out and go ahead and replace it with plan B. This is crucial because what happens is, again, the closer you get to your destiny, he's going to fight you even harder. And so what will happen is he's going to start throwing distractions into place, and he's going to start throwing distractions in places, in people, in things. All these things are to shake your spirit. All these things are to get you frustrated. All these things are to get you so tired and weary and make you feel like, okay, this is just never going to happen. Like, I've been on the same road, on the same route for 25 years. I know I'm exaggerating, but for 25 years, and God have shown me this promise, and it's just never going to happen. Well, that's not the truth. If God has shown you something, if God has given you the okay, it still remains. The point of the matter is, sometimes we, again, don't understand that there's a process, but most importantly, we don't understand that we can't determine how long that process is. That's the frustrating part, because you don't know how long your process is going to be. You may look at someone else and their process might have been 1 year. You might be in year 6 and you're still processing things, and you're still going through a process. God is still working on you in this area. He's still working on you in this area. Well, if your process is taking longer, then it's a great possibility that the blessing that you're asking for and the magnitude of that blessing is much more grand than just a normal everyday breakthrough. So it depends on, how much of a blessing you're asking for. How big is that destiny, that vision that God has shown you. So if it's something big and not, just mediocre, not mediocre, then please understand that your fight is going to be harder. But you cannot have that mindset of, I'm just going to fight a little bit. I'm going to stop now because I'm tired, and I'm going to just start again whenever. Like, you have to be so consistent. Even when you're tired, you have to be consistent. Even when you feel like giving up, you have to be consistent. And there will be times when you want to give up, because it's just like, it seems like nothing is happening. You don't see any growth. And that's the times when God is quiet. So it's important to realize that God is still working. He's just working behind the scenes. He's working on something else that you don't know about. Your job is just to keep trusting him, to keep knowing that whatever he's told you, whatever he's shown you, it's still there. Just because you can't attain it today or tomorrow doesn't mean it's not going to happen. But it's important to stay 2 steps ahead of Satan. Whatever distraction comes your way, a person, a place, or a thing, you have to be fluid in your thinking to wipe that distraction out and replace it with plan B. You gotta be ahead of the game. You can't walk this thing like just a normal everyday person who is, content with just being, mediocre. And that's fine. But that's not who you are. You want bigger blessings. You want bigger things. You have a grand vision. So you can't assume that your walk is going to be a walk of someone else who's just content and happy just being where they are. Your fight is going to be different, and it's not a fight for the faint at heart. Let me just tell you. Let me just tell you, honey. You got to have some power. You got to have some strength. You got to have a mental state that if everyone else thinks that you're crazy about a vision that God has shown you or a vision that you've seen or what you want to attain, if everybody in the world thinks you is crazy, you're going to have to be okay with being crazy alone. That's how your thinking have to be. You have to be willing to walk away from every single person in your life who is pulling from you or distracting you or putting thoughts in your mind that you can't do this, you can never be this, whatever it may be. You have to be okay with walking alone. When they tell you it's lonely at the top, it's for a reason. Because you got to understand, if God has given you a vision, that's your vision alone. So no one else is going to understand that vision. They're going to think you're insane. Literally. And that's okay. That's okay. But again, you have to be sure that if there's anybody around you who's pulling from you, if they're dampening your spirit, if they're causing you, your spirit to be pulling back and forth with nonsense and foolishness that has nothing to do with your destiny, if you got people just pulling from you and taking away your energy with foolishness, if you got people telling you that you can't do this, and if I was you, I wouldn't do this, you got to fall back. You got to fall back until they're ready to come up. If they ever get to that point, if they're not, you're going to have to be okay with being alone. So I just want to encourage you guys, keep fighting. Whatever it is that you've seen, whatever it is that you've heard, it's still yours. The process can be very tedious. Sometimes you're going to have silence, and sometimes you're going to have like this a rush of everything just happening and falling into place all of a sudden. And then you get excited, like, oh my God, everything's falling into place. It must be time. And then you have another silent period. Excuse me. So you're going to go through all these different periods and these different disappointments. You're going to be happy, then sad, then disappointment. Then you're going to start questioning if you really heard God correct. All of these things are part of the process. They're all part of the process. But it's okay. It's okay. You're human. So it's okay to feel like, okay, this is just, but you gotta change that. Have your moment, but the next day, get yourself back, get your mind back right, get back spiritually connected, and be like, okay, so this wasn't a good night. Yesterday wasn't a good day. I didn't see any results yesterday, but you got to get your mind back the next day and be like, okay, back on it now. What's the next step? All right, God, what's the next step now? Like you gotta fight this thing to the very end. You got to be strong. You have to be determined. You have to be courageous. You have to be fearless. You have to know and believe what God has spoken to you. So you guys stay strong. Do not give up. And I will see you guys on the other side. It's your girl, Kizzy Rock.